They say the house on Blackthorn Hill watches you. From the moment you step onto its crumbling stone pathway, you feel its gaze, an oppressive weight pressing down on your chest. The locals never dared to go near it, and if you asked about it, they'd quickly change the subject or mutter something about curses. I should have heeded their warnings. The house had stood abandoned for over a century, its towering frame leaning as if bowing to some unseen force. The windows were jagged, like gaping mouths ready to swallow any who dared to enter. Yet, despite its derelict state, there was always a faint glow emanating from its topmost window, a light no one could explain. I first encountered the house on a late autumn evening. The wind howled through the bare trees, and the moon hung low, casting an eerie silver light over the landscape. I'd been dared by a group of friends to spend the night inside, a childish game of bravery, or stupidity as it turned out. I arrived just before midnight. The iron gate creaked on its rusted hinges as I pushed it open, and the path ahead was littered with dead leaves and broken branches. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the house itself resisted my approach. By the time I reached the front door, my heart was pounding. The door groaned open with a single push, revealing a cavernous entryway choked with dust and cobwebs. The air was stale, heavy with the scent of mildew and rot. The faint glow I'd seen from the outside seemed to pulse now, casting faint shadows that danced along the cracked walls. I ventured deeper, flashlight in hand. The house seemed to breathe, the creaks and groans of its wooden frame mimicking the rhythm of a living thing. Whispers echoed faintly, too soft to make out, but unmistakably human. As I climbed the grand staircase, my flashlight flickered, the beam faltering and plunging me into near darkness. That's when I saw her. A figure stood at the top of the stairs, barely visible in the dim light. Her dress was tattered, a relic of the Victorian era, and her face was obscured by shadow. Yet her eyes glinted, two pinpricks of unnatural light that cut through the darkness. She raised a hand and pointed down the hall, toward the source of the glow. "Leave," she whispered, her voice like the rustle of dry leaves. But I couldn't move. My legs carried me forward, as if drawn by an unseen force. I stumbled down the hall, my heart hammering in my chest. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, until they became a cacophony, a deafening roar that filled my head. The light led me to a room at the end of the hall. The door creaked open on its own, revealing a small, dimly lit space. At its center stood a mirror, its frame ornate and gilded, yet tarnished with age. The glow emanated from within the glass, swirling and shifting like smoke. I stepped closer, unable to resist. The mirror showed me things, horrible things, the house's past, its secrets. I saw the family that once lived there, a man, his wife, and their daughter. I saw their descent into madness, the arguments, the violence. I saw the man burying bodies in the garden, his hands stained red. And I saw her, the girl, staring into the same mirror, her eyes wide with terror as unseen hands dragged her into its depths. Then I saw myself. My reflection stared back at me. But it wasn't me. The eyes were wrong, dark, hollow, and filled with malice. The reflection smiled, a cruel, twisted grin, and reached out. The moment its hand touched mine, the world shattered. I woke outside, lying on the cold ground beneath the gnarled trees. The house loomed above me, dark and silent. My flashlight was gone, and my watch read 3 a.m. I never spoke about what happened that night, but I've never been the same. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I catch glimpses of that grin in mirrors or windows, and I know it's waiting for me. for the next time I'm foolish enough to return. Ending note: if you ever find yourself near Blackthorn Hill, don't stop. Don't look back. And whatever you do, don't go inside. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed.